us live when you have
Oh,
a chance. Oh, we are live. Here we are. We are streaming live. It is the meeting of the Senate Rules Committee. We are discussing a couple bills that are in our committee, and we're going to discuss whether they should be released. So we're going to start with Senator Sorokin, who is the chair of the Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs Committee, and he's here to request that a bill be released from Senate Rules. So, Michael, thank you for joining us.
Good morning, everybody. H-157 is the residential contractors bill. You may recall from 2 years ago, it passed the Senate. There's very little change in what the House is sending us from what the Senate sent over. The one significant change is that we had passed a bill that set a threshold of when you had to have written contracts at $2,000. They upped that to $3,500, which may sound like a lot, but if you know the price of lumber these days, it may be very similar to where we were in the Senate a couple of years ago. So it's a system of registering the contractors, and once you're registered, you'd have to abide by the threshold of the $3,500 in the Senate version and the House version, and you'd have to have some minimal insurance coverage and have a written contract that has some minimal requirements setting out the basic cost estimate of the contract, et cetera. Some of you may remember it. I have my whole entire committee from last year on the Rules Committee, I realized. And we were unanimous on this bill. I think that if we got it out and into our committee, we probably could breeze through it fairly quickly and either concur or maybe concur with an amendment on the threshold. I don't think there's much difference. I have no idea why it was delayed in the House. I assume that's why it's in your committee right now, because they got
That's
it
right.
late.
That's right. And so, Senator Brock, thank you for joining us. And we're just discussing H-157, which, as Senator Sorokin just said, is a bill that we took up last biennium. We did all the work in the committee, passed out of our committee unanimously, went to the floor. And so, which is the reason why we are really able to entertain this request, because so much of the work has already been done and the changes are fairly minimal. So in meeting.
This is the bill regarding licensing contractors?
Registering, not
Okay.
licensing. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So questions for the chair, meaning the chair of economic development.
Is what passed out of the House, is it substantially the same as that passed out of the Senate last time? Are there any differences that you're
The only difference that I could see, and significant, I haven't gotten to the real weeds of the words, but is the threshold. They went up to 35.
They went to 3,500, as I remember. Is that right?
And we were at 2,000.
Yeah. Now I know the large contractors are in favor of the bill, AGC and so on. The smaller guys, I still get a lot of heartburn coming from them as to whether it's really necessary.
So if I could, before I go to Senator Clarkson, you're on deck. I want to ask the chair to just remind us, because I know you've got them in your head. Can you remind us of the number of complaints that have come to the AG's office specifically around this? Because I think that's
that
important.
I remember is that it's either the first or second most common complaint that the consumer division gets at the AG's office. And we are one of only a handful of states that doesn't do anything in this area. And what we're proposing here is very modest compared to what other states do. A lot of them license. They have a whole structure around these residential contractors. Yeah, and the poster child for this is frequently the elderly person who contracts for a roof, puts down a deposit, and then the person disappears or leaves the job midstream. And so
Yeah.
they get a lot of complaints. And
Well, I
there's-
guess one of the questions that's always come to my mind is, is this, at least as proposed, it's not licensing, so participation is voluntary. The AG investigates if there's an issue and then can take some action, and presumably to the point of even criminal action. But I was just at the back of my mind, why can't they do that now?
Let's
Well,
let
they
Mr. Chair
can-
answer the question, and then I will follow. I promise, Allison, I will give you a chance.
No.
Yeah.
I think the premise on all of these things is that over time, people will get to know a little bit about the terminology and will be asking questions. Are you registered with the state? Are you at least a registered
Mhm.
contract? And hopefully they would take some pause if, 5 years down the road, you're not even registered, I'm told I should have a registered contractor. So there's enforcement in that way. It's hard to enforce people who
Yeah.
skip town, regardless of whether you have registration or not.
Okay.
Senator Clarkson.
Thanks. I was going to speak to many of the issues our chair has spoken to. It is the lightest touch that we can do. It had a sunset review.
Mhm.
All the professionals associated with Office of Professional Regulation. The threshold is there. Does it do harm to Vermonters? Does it help us protect Vermonters if we do license or regulate in any way a profession? And they found, yes, there has been harm to Vermonters by not doing this. That having a list of registered contractors on the web would do exactly what our chair said. It would people would go and check there first, and I think it would be an important funnel for people who want a trusted contractor. They will go and check there first. They are going to provide a template. They're going to make it as easy as possible. So I think we can deal with this in a fairly quick way, which is, I think, the issue we have in front of us today is to decide how quickly we could do this and what an additional burden it is to our work. And I don't think it'll be a significant burden given how much time we spent on it. And as you'll recall, I was the reporter of this bill on the floor.
Well, I think as you recall from the discussion, I went along and gave one of my reluctant yeses, but I'm a healthy skeptic as to whether or not this is really gonna accomplish a whole lot other than be another bureaucratic burden. In general, the person who typically the senior who gets killed by these kinds of contractors is not the one who's going to go to the web to check for them to be registered in the first place. The careful consumer who would check out any vendor that they hire is the one who's going to go. And so I'm a bit of a skeptic as to whether this is going to accomplish anything except create a lot of paperwork, unless and until there is something in it that actually gives some teeth to the Attorney General to actually do something about these people other than prevent them from being registered again. And I don't know. I'm a bit of a skeptic is all I can say. I will certainly, I'll go along with bringing it back up to, to be looked at. I hope we'll take at least a modicum of testimony on both sides of this issue, and then, go for whatever we go for.
Before I go to Senator Clarkson, anything you want to add, Senator Sorokin?
No, I understand the concern. I do think there are, if they have people registered and they know where they are, theoretically, there are some penalties that can be imposed. It's not like the only thing they can do is deregister them.
Okay. Are there penalties, by the way, in this bill coming across?
I have to look at it again. I'm trying to think about our bill. I think it dovetails back to the consumer fraud protection and
That's my
right
memory.
that people,
Yeah.
the AG has under there. It's an unfair practice at that point.
Senator Clarkson.
And I'll remind us that once it is registered with OPR, the investigative and the initial enforcement and work can be done through OPR, and OPR then refers all its cases, I believe, to the AG's office. But the AG brought this to us and to OPR in the first place, because of it being one of their top consumer complaints. And as you'll recall, Randy, one of our most articulate injured parties was a younger person who said she had used the web to check up on this person, and they had artificially filled it with all their friends who had said what a great contractor this person was. So as you'll recall, that, it was our poster child for this bill was somebody who was young and used the internet to try and check up on the qualifications of this person. So
Okay.
I think we're in good shape on this, at least for a good discussion.
Okay.
And the last thing that I would add is this is something that has been an important bill for smaller contracting shops in my neck of the woods in Windham County. They feel like they are constantly competing with people who underbid them and then do shoddy work. So I do think, although there definitely have been sort of small scale contractors that are worried about this, I've also heard from a number in my neck of the woods who really want something to differentiate them from other people who don't stand by their work. So I think at this point, I'm looking for a motion to move H157. Senator Mazza has moved that we move 157. I don't believe we need a second, so I will call the roll. Senator Clarkson.
Yes.
Senator Brock.
Yes.
Senator Hooker.
Yes.
Senator Hooker, yes. Okay. Senator Mazza.
Yes.
Senator Ballant, vote is 5-0. Thank you, Senator Strachan, for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. What's the process from here? Does it get assigned to a committee tomorrow?
And now I will turn to Secretary Bloomer.
Thank you, Senator. Yeah, what will happen is it'll actually do this afternoon. You've released it this morning. Under the temporary rule you adopted, it will be referred to your committee at 1 o'clock.
Okay, thank you very much.
So Secretary Bloomer, can you stay with us just a moment? Thank you,
you.
Michael. Bye-bye.
Well,
Can you remind me of the bill number for the pensions bill that's come over and is now in GovOps?
H449.
Or will be in GovOps if we release it, is what I'm trying to
Right.
say. Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
H449.
Okay, so H449 was a bill that the speaker and I spoke about earlier in the session. It was clear that it wasn't going to make crossover, and gave her my word that our committee would take it up. It is, as we all know, a financial emergency that we are facing. And so we'd like to release the bill out of this committee into government operations, so and actually Senator Clarkson is on that committee, so that they can take up the bill and get it passed and then get to conference committee. So Senator Clarkson, is there anything that you want to say? The chair asked me if she could please have a little bit of time to gather herself this morning, which is why she is not with us. She had an early call with me at 7:30. So yes, Senator Clarkson.
We have already started work on this, as you know, and given I think it's a sort of it's become a top priority of this session. So I think we need to advance it. This is step one in this process. And as you know, we're looking at establishing new governance for the funds, and to set up a task force that will really work hard this summer, very tight time frame, to come back to the legislature with recommendations on how to make these funds that are so critical to our state and to our people of the state be sustainable into the future. So we're working hard on it, and we would love to have. It's a tough piece of work, so it's hard to say I'd love to have it, but we would appreciate you releasing this bill to GovOps.
Any questions or comments? Looking for a motion. Thank you, Senator Hooker. And John, I'm sorry, remind me of the number H.
449.
49.
449. So
449.
we have a motion to move H 449 out of the Senate Rules Committee, and so that the Senate Government Operations can take up the bill. I have a motion from Senator Hooker. I will now call the roll. Senator Mazza,
Yes.
Senator Hooker,
Yes.
Senator Brock,
Yes.
Yes.
Senator Clarkson,
Yes.
Senator Ballant. Vote is 5-0. We have several other bills in committee. I had invited the chairs of the committees of jurisdiction to join us this morning. They haven't joined us. So I'm going to wait on the other bills that are currently in Senate rules. Unless, Cheryl, were you here to speak on S-120?
I can speak on H-225.
That one is, they're taking hearings this morning, and Senator Sears and Senator Lyons will circle back after they're doing 3 hours of hearings this morning on that bill. So they're waiting to see if they're going to be able to get it over.
Okay,
So
with regard to
S-120, yeah, I didn't know if Senator Lyons had asked you to speak on that.
Well, she didn't, but I will. We voted it out of committee. It's the bill that would look at healthcare reform. It would establish a task force to listen to Vermonters about their concerns about the healthcare system. And we're hoping that would happen this summer. It also has some reports regarding the 340B program and pharmacy benefits managers that would help to get ahead of problems that have been seen with this system so that we can continue to get reduced prices for drugs in the state that would then eventually benefit Vermont, not direct subsidies to Vermonters or direct discounts to Vermonters, but to providers to provide other services to the state, to the insured people of the state. So that is an important piece, I think, of S-120. And there are other reports regarding oversight and regulations. So I think it's an important bill that we get out and start working on.
And so, Senator Hooker, my apologies. I just received a note. I'm going to ask the Senate Secretary. S-120 may not have yet been referred to rules. So, Secretary Bloomer, is that true?
That is correct. It will go this afternoon. There are two bills on the notice calendar today, S-120 and S-142. Both of them did not make crossover.
Okay. All right. So I was a little overeager. Senator Hooker, thank you for giving us that overview. And I will, at some point in the next day or two, call another Senate Rules committees. But since we don't have it before us yet, I think we'll wait. So it is 8:21. I know many of us on here have committee at 8:30, so I will give you a chance to grab a cup of coffee. And thank you so much. This concludes the Senate Rules Committee. Did you have a question, Allison, or are you just waving?
Oh, I'm waving goodbye.
Waving
Sure.
goodbye. Okay.